evening. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the OA machine. I'm Dave, WW7ATS. The Western Washington Amateur Television Society is a group of amateur radio enthusiasts that get together for a net on Wednesdays and Saturdays with amateur television. To find out more about the Western Washington Amateur Television Society, Google WW7ATS. That's Google WW7ATS. That'll take you to our homepage. There you'll find the frequencies we operate on, a little bit of history of our club, and also you'll find a link on our homepage that will take you to YouTube, where we stream our nets held Wednesdays and Saturdays between 8 and 9 o'clock. Also, we'd like to thank the SeaTac Repeater Association for letting us use WW7STR's repeater 14708 with a specific tone 103.5 for our voice transmissions. So with that, I'll pause in case anybody has emergency traffic or needs to make a contact on the 08 machine before our net gets fully underway. This is Dave, KD7CYM, on behalf of the Western Washington Amateur Television Society. On. We'll get our net underway for the Western Washington Amateur Television Society. So far checked into the net via video link is Ron, KD7QKU, Bob, K9PQ, Richard, K7ITX, Jim, N7QO, James, WU7N, and myself, Dave, KD7CYM. Is there anybody else who would like to check into the net?
KF7UHK.
7UHK, Jessica, we got you down. Thanks for checking in. Anybody else wishes to check in? Our net underway. Let's go to Ron, KD7QKU.
Well, thank you very much, Dave, and good evening to everyone. This is Ron, KD7QKU. And Jessica, I sure hope you're doing good. I hope you're taking it easy like you're supposed to. It's been an eventful last few days. We went to the Puyallup Fair. That was great. But the last two Saturdays, I've gone to the Tacoma Ham Club. And today I turned in an application and my money. And today was a really, I thought, eventful day over there. I was about ready to leave. I've been there a couple hours. They're good group of guys, really knowledgeable. Lots of ham reel technicians in the club. And so I was about ready to leave, and I met this guy named Steve. And he was in the kitchen, and we started talking. And somehow I mentioned that I had a friend, Richard, K7ITX. And the guy looks at me and he said, K7ITX? And I said, yeah. He said, that's Dick Oles' call sign. And I said, yeah, it's his son. He said, you gotta be kidding me. No. I said, oh my golly. He said, I knew Dick really well. I really liked the guy. And he starts telling me all these stories about all these, what do you call them, Richard? Bunny hunts or whatever they did. They'd hide a little transceiver and then everybody would go. They did it, it sounded like on maybe Friday nights or something. It sounded like it was really great fun. He said Richard's dad was one of the best guys at picking places to hide it of anybody in the club. So then anyway, and then he starts telling me that they're going to put this new repeater over here on this tower. You know, take the repeater down that's over there. Oh really? I said, that's interesting. And I said I was in ATV and man, I said, we look at that tower and just drool. We'd like to get on. Well, come with me, he said. So we go in the other room, and he said, I'll introduce you to these guys. So he introduced me to this guy. I think his name was Nick. And there was 3 or 4 guys sitting there. And he tells them, oh, yeah, he knows Dick Olson, K7ATS. No kidding. A couple of them knew of him and stuff, too. And we started talking, and so this Nick guy asked me, I said, so you're in an ATV? And he said, yeah. I said, we want to go digital. And he said, well, then, you know, all the old PC electronic stuff I have is no good. And I said, you have a bunch of it? Yeah. Well, why don't you join us or something? But anyway, we were talking and talking. So he starts telling me that he said, well, where's your repeater? And I said, up on Cougar Mountain, yeah. Oh, he said, I'm up there all the time, right? I go up there, I work on the radio stations or whatever up there, or have worked on the radio stations. And so I looked at him and I said, you know George Basil? He goes, bunch of 4-letter words. Yeah, he said, I had to work with them. He said, it was terrible. And so then I said, you know Gary Hart? Oh yeah, no, he's a nice guy. I said, well, by chance, would you know Rob Martin? Oh yeah, no, I know Rob Martin. He's a hard guy to work with too. Yeah, no, I know him. And so I said, well, anyway, I said, I understand you're kind of the guy at the tower over here. Yeah. I said, man, you know, we'd like to get over there. And he said, well, I don't know. He said, it's tough, you know, to get over there. But anyway. So anyway, the fact that we knew a bunch of people and they were really friendly, and I said, okay, well, we're not ready right now, but we want to go digital someday, and it would be nice. He said, yeah, they're going to take a bunch of stuff down over there. The tower is almost overloaded. I said, well, that might be room for us. He looked at me and smiled. He said, well, you know what, you'd have to hire a professional climber. I said, well, you just told me you'd been to the top of that tower. And he said, yeah, no, I have, but you have to have a professional climber now to climb up there. And anyway, he said, it'd probably be $1,000. And yeah, no, I said, I know. So I said, if the time came and the opportunity, I'm sure the club would come up with the money. But anyway, so I said, keep us in mind. He said, okay, I'll keep you in mind, but, never know. So, but anyway, it was an interesting conversation. So that was, turned out to be a really fun afternoon. So like I say, I met a bunch of the guys now. I feel like I know some people over there now. So I think this winter, Saturday, they go over there every Saturday, and they're usually there from like 10 to 2. I would say later than 2, really, because, let it drop, I guess. There, he had a couple radios for sale again. He sold one of them. I think he got $900 for it. It was a pretty nice radio. I don't know what it was, I guess. It was smaller. Then he had a great big old Kenwood. It was a beautiful radio, a really expensive radio one time. And he was working on a desk mic that he got from me, and he was trying to make it all work. It wasn't working too well. 2 or 3 guys were helping him, and they were cleaning stuff up and doing everything, and then one of them asked him if he wanted to sell it. So I think maybe Wade sold that one too. It's quite a place. Anyway, all right, so back to net KD7QKU.
QKU. Let's go to KF7UHK, Jessica.
Everett, this is KF7UHK. Well, still laying around, mostly on my face, and Sylvia made a really good stew tonight. More like a pot roast. It was really delicious. So that's what we had for dinner tonight. I'm not going to stay on forever. I'm going to make this my 73. But thank you, Ron, for your good wishes. And I know everybody has good wishes out there. I give you guys all good wishes too for all your good health. And let's keep it up. Let's keep up the thing. And Ron, I was thinking the term that came to mind was "it's a small world." It's really cool. Ham radio has got me to meet so many people that I never would have before, and so many times you just hear their call sign and their voice, but never actually meet them. So it's really cool when you meet them face to face too, and find out how you have a lot of things in common, along with equipment in common. So very, very cool. So that's it for me. I'm going to go back to my laying around and recovering. I put in 4 eye drops of one type and then 2 eye drops of another type, along with some gel that Sylvia puts in my eye every night. So that's kind of what I've been going through. So thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. This is Jessica, KF7 USK.
We got your 7-3, and we wish you well with your recovery from your eye injury. And this is Dave, KD7CYM, and this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the OA machine. Let's go to Bob, K9PQ in Bothell.
Good evening, everybody. Yeah, Jessica, I hope you heal up quickly and completely. I didn't hear what happened exactly, but I wish you the best of luck. So I've been busy. I have been busy getting on the air. So my friend Chris and I, he helped me get some of the software going, and I got my station set up and got a sort of it's a loop antenna, but it's really it's meant for stealth, not for best performance. We call it meatball radio. So it was just get on the air some way, somehow. But I got the Elecraft back up and going, and I've been doing Whisper and FT8 mostly. We tried a bit of JT8 call, I believe it's called, or JS8 call. I forget exactly which it is. But it's based on FT8, but it allows you to send messages and actually do some relay work. It's pretty interesting. But I managed to get to Australia and Japan with my simple little loop on Whisper, and on FT8 just today I got out to the Aleutians in Alaska, which I'm sure was because, well, for one thing, I'm on a hill that's kind of facing west, so I go west better than I go east, and also because it's all water between me and the Aleutians. So, but that was really exciting and fun to make that contact. So yeah, getting on the air. I'm going to be working on maybe trying to improve the loop a little bit and get out more. Haven't had any luck with sideband yet, but we'll see how it goes. These digital modes are pretty fun for when you are kind of down in the mud, and I'm also doing very low power because I don't want to disturb the neighbors, mess up their electronics. So I'm doing 5 watts, and I'm getting around halfway around the world with 5 watts, Australia and Japan, as I said. So pretty fun stuff. All right, well, I will send it back to the net. K9PQ.
9PQ, thanks for that report. Let's go to Richard, K7ITX in Kent.
Okay, well, to start with, Bob, Jessica had eye surgery, I guess it was probably last week sometime, to stitch up laser-like macular hole in her, I guess retina is where the macula is, and I know all about that because my YL, Debbie, had the same issue. But the drama is the healing process. Jessica has a gas bubble in her eyeball right now to replace the normal gel that's in there in your eyeball, and eventually the gas or oxygen, whatever's in there, nitrogen, will be replaced naturally by the fluid that fills up your eyeball. But in the meantime, she has to keep pretty much, well, if not all the time, pretty much all the time, your head's laying, face down. So she's into watching TV with a flat screen TV, face down on the floor. She's in some kind of I want to say a bed that may be a masseuse where you get massaged on, where I can just picture that whole, where your head goes, where you're looking straight down kind of situation. So anyway, that's what her report was last night, and so that's how we all know about that. Our prayers are with her, and but I'm confident that it's a normal procedure, and she'll come through with flying colors. Okay, and Ron, yeah, no, that's pretty exciting. My old buddies there. I'm really curious now to find who you met out of half a dozen of those guys that remember my dad really well, and good chance I probably will remember them as well. So I'm probably looking forward to a trip to the clubhouse with you and Wade in the very near future. I think that would really be fun. Sounds like a real treat. So our big event is the annual Pheasants Hollow garage sale weekend, and so normally we don't take part, but Debbie got the neighbor later, their family across the street was doing it, and then Debbie got a wild hair to do it, so she pulled out a bunch of stuff, but in the process she pulled out some old souvenirs that I hadn't seen in a long time that go along with the story I told you guys recently. So let me put the microphone down and see if this one of my souvenirs shows up very well. Hang on. I've told this story a couple times about meeting and becoming friends with the KPG officer on a Russian ship that was docked at Port of Seattle during the Goodwill Games. And so they gave me a hat, the Navy hat. It was pretty cool. I thought that was fun. But not just that, a couple other things. How about a Russian edition of Paul McCartney? Have you ever seen one of those? So I thought that was pretty fun. And but weirdly enough, all the music's in English, even though everything else is in Russian. And just, weird things like this. I guess this might be related to the stuff that, I don't know, metal or whatever you call these things that you would have related to your ship. So, and they're obviously into wrestling. And even though I don't smoke, I got a pack of Russian cigarettes, so I thought it'd be fun to show you guys this stuff that Debbie found in the garage today. So anyway, so that's my long-winded report. Thank you very much, Ron, again for that great story, and God bless you, Jessica. This is K7ATS, back to net control.
Thanks for that, Richard. Let's move on to Jim, N7QO.
N7QO, thank you, Dave. Good evening, everyone. Well, Ron, yeah, that does sounds like you should have a lot of fun there. You're now an official member of the The Taco Ham Club. Sounds like a sandwich. Suddenly I'm hungry. Anyway, that's great. Yeah, keep an eye on it. At least you're sort of an insider now. You can get some information from time to time. You never know what's going to happen. They may be looking to put something else up there, or who knows. Anyway, that sounds good. Jessica, good to hear from you. Thank you for checking in. Hope you're not going too stir-crazy there. At least it sounds like you've got some good food to satiate you a little bit anyway. Don't know if you're getting any massages, but I'd settle for some good victuals myself anyway. Funny, we're always talking about food, aren't we? Oh well. Bob, yeah, that sounds really cool. 5 watts. That L-Craft is the one that you've got is the 100 watt version, I think, isn't it? It seems to me that Bert was saying he usually uses fairly low power, like I got the impression on the order of 25 to 30 watts, and he seems to work all over the place with that. But if you got all those countries, Japan and that, with 5 watts, now, yeah, you're right, it is over water, but holy cow, that sounds pretty good. And about the antenna that you've got, is that a receive-only antenna, or is that fashioned for transmit as well? It seems to me that Bert was saying he uses a loop antenna for receive when he's doing FT8. A loop antenna with an amplifier. So just curious about that. Dick, garage sale. Yeah, I've definitely seen some stuff around the house within the past couple of days that I haven't seen in a couple of decades. I don't think I'm going to bother taking them to any garage sale. They're just going to the dumpster. But you've got some cool stuff there. That hat is really cool. I'm glad that they didn't catch you at the border as you were leaving with that, because that you might not be here for us, the way things go nowadays. Anyway, good luck with the garage sale, and hope you make some profit on some of the stuff that you've got anyway that you might turn in. Back to you, Dave, N7QO.
Thank you with that. And for ID, this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7CYM. Well, let's go over. I got a little frog in my throat there. Let's go to James, WU7N.
Thank you, Dave. James, WU7N in Northeast Bellevue. Our 1.2 gigahertz signal on a scale of 1 to 5, I think it's coming through as about a good solid 4 tonight. I don't know why it's not as good as it has been throughout the summer. A little degradation of signal, but certainly we could see the stuff that Richard held up quite well. I couldn't quite make out the Cyrillic lettering. I was kind of curious to know what some of that said. Yeah, the Russian cigarettes, I'm told if you have a throat after a pack, you won't know it anymore. They're pretty harsh. The big thing for merchant marine crews was to give them American cigarettes, because I guess American cigarettes are much better. I mean, I'm not a connoisseur of tobacco, but supposedly American cigarettes are really good compared to the Russian cigarettes. So that's interesting. You got a pack of that. Thank you for being our ambassador to Taco. That does sound like some kind of a sandwich or dish or something, but that is fantastic. That's what keeps amateur radio going, is the connections. Really appreciate you doing that, and hope you'll continue to do that. And Bob, fantastic. It's great to hear that you got Whisper up and working. I've been too busy with some other things around here and scrambling with the last of the good weather. I'm still trying to figure out if there's a squirrel under my house, if it's dead, if it's alive. It just came and visited and left. I don't know what's going on. I reset a trap under there today. So the question I throw out to the group, will a giant rat trap get a squirrel? I don't know. What's everyone's opinion? So anyway, I noticed that the trap looked like it had a piece of it moved, but that little nut was still in there. So maybe I'll have to figure out, what does the squirrel really like, if in fact it's a squirrel at all. Well, it's nice to live up next to a green belt. Never a dull moment. With someone today that all the people that walk their dogs around here, especially the ones that have like the little drop kick size dogs, the coyotes are getting really bold, and they're starting to stalk the owners on their dogs, hoping that they will let the dogs off the leash, to go sniff over here or something. And I was telling my neighbor, well, next time that happens, you need to throw a rock or something at the coyote to train it to go back into the greenbelt and hunt there. And they've got an entire greenbelt here. They don't need to hunt our pets. But so that's the most exciting thing going around here right now. So that's not that exciting, I suppose. Anyway, well, the weather is gorgeous. Supposed to be a little dry, but still good for the rest of the month. So the Farmer's Almanac says. We'll have to see if that turns out to be true. So still trying to get a couple of things done today. With a friend watching, I ventured out onto my roof to try and repair my chimney. My goodness, I would like the entire chimney gone off the side of the house. The gas fireplace has never been used in all the time I've lived here. And the natural gas guy, when I first moved in here, told me it sucks more heat out the chimney if you have the damper open and the fire going than if you just close the damper and don't use it. That's another odd thing about this house. Something else they put on there, because I guess it's what they did in the 70s, but I wish they never had. It's a giant squirrel trap. So far I've got 2. Ooh, yeah, it was bad. Anyway, this is James, WW7ATS in Northeast Bellevue. Let me turn it back to Dave on net control for the Western Washington Amateur Television Society.
7N, thanks for that. Oh my, last couple of days have been exciting. I got together with my daughter in Edmonds for lunch yesterday and had a Cuban sandwich. Oh my gosh, could only eat about half of it. It was so large. I've never come across a sandwich so big, but that was very delicious. And then I went on to buy an iPad. I've been surfing the internet a little bit on iPads and how they operate, and I did pick that up, and today I opened the package and plugged it in to charge it up overnight, and so I'm looking forward tomorrow to getting into setup. I went to YouTube and I was amazed. Go to iPad setup. There was about a dozen videos of things on how you set it up, so I think I'm pretty well versed on that. I'm sure I will find some problems with that, but I'm looking forward to an automatic setup tomorrow, so we'll see how that works. And for Ron, oh my gosh, a new club in his neighborhood, and he joined it. I think that's pretty exciting. I think that, got to be proud of that. And Bob, DX expert now with doing stuff on HF, so that's a fantastic thing. And let's see what else we had. Richard, I don't think you'd want to smoke those cigarettes. I think they'd be a little dry after a few years of being just stale in the package. So anyway, oh my, what a way to go. And here I got 67 degrees in Lake City. And a final in that Wazoo game, they won at 31-22 over Wisconsin. So anyway, it was a pretty good game. I enjoyed that. So that's about it for me from right now from Lake City. So I'll send it back up to Ron, KD7QKU.
WW7ATS here. Well, they won that game, the Cougars did, and then the fans rushed the field. That's what's so neat about college football and stuff. It's the enthusiasm that the kids have and everything. I love college football. I'd prefer it to pro football any day. And when I was talking to that guy over at the club, today, he asked me if I knew Gary. I thought he meant Gary Hart. No, he knew Gary Hart too. He meant Gary Lewis. So anyway, Jim knows who Gary Lewis was. I don't know if the rest of you guys, Dave of course does. I told him, no, I hardly knew Gary Lewis. I knew of him, but I didn't know him very well. So I thought that would be a negative. I didn't want to pursue a negative. I wanted to keep it on a positive term. And Bob, if you're only using 5 watts, that's like QRP. My friend in Boise, he does CW, and he just uses QRP all the time. He talks to everybody everywhere. It really works neat. And I was wondering if that loop was a MFJ loop, and it must be a new loop. I don't remember you having a loop antenna before, so you might tell us about that. And James, I wonder about peanut butter on that trap, because rats like peanut butter, maybe squirrels like peanut butter. It has an aroma, so maybe, it would attract them. And let's see, what else did I get down here? I was going to tell them that the Cougars won, but Dave already said that. So let's see. Let me let it drop. It was James. It was Gary Lewis, with a G, not Harry Lewis. Gary Lewis. So we went to the Puyallup Fair on the Thursday, and oh man, it was the temperature was just right, cool enough for me and warm enough that my wife could wear a little sweatshirt thing, and she was perfectly happy. So we got there about noon, walked all over. Food was really expensive. Joanne wanted to have lunch before we left, and I said, no, that's part of the fun is to have lunch over there. So she said, okay. So we used to buy hamburgers or sandwiches at the Young Life. Well, Young Life isn't there anymore. We couldn't find them, and I asked. So Young Life no longer has a food booth there. So there was this place that I don't know if it was Impossible Burgers or something. It was supposed to be the biggest and the best burger there. So I got in the line, got up there, and looked at the price. They wanted $19.95 for their hamburger. I turned around and left. We went over and had some gyros for lunch instead. And I have to say, they were the worst gyro I ever had. So I don't know. Later on, we had a pulled pork sandwich. From this barbecue in Kent. I was wondering, I bet it's the same, I think it's Ken's Barbecue or something. I bet it's the same place you get turkeys, Richard. They had a big place there, barbecuing all kind of chicken and turkey legs. But we had the pulled pork. It was really good. Their pulled pork sandwiches were $11.95. So when we were in that arena, or in that area, the arena was having the horses, the Clydesdale horses. So we went over to the arena and sat there and watched the horses. They had a 2-hitch, a 3-hitch, and a 4 of breast. I never saw that before. 4 horses side by side. And then they had a 6-horse hitch. And of course, they all did figure eights around cones in the middle of the arena, and then they all backed up the wagons. It's a pretty good show. We enjoyed that. So we seemed like we crisscrossed the place back and forth. I was pooped out, man. We had to ride the people mover. For you guys that haven't been there, they have like, big lawn tractor lawnmowers, and they have little cars with bench seats in them, and they haul the old people like us around. So we rode that thing back and forth twice, and then I walked back. On my pedometer, I walked over 5 miles. I mean, my butt was really dragging my tracks out, that's for sure. About 3 o'clock, 3:30, I told you, and I just was pooped, man. We'd walked too much. So I said, I gotta have some more food. So we went and got an elephant ear, and the sugar, I guess, and carbohydrate kind of perked me up. And then we went by the dairy barn, and I got a softy chocolate cone. That helped too. So then I was good until about 5:30 or 6 o'clock. We had dinner. Joanne wanted to go to the rodeo. And she never wants to go to the rodeo, but she wanted to go to the rodeo. And I kind of begged off on that. I don't really like to drive at night anymore so much, and I'm not used to going out to Puyallup and coming from Puyallup, you know. I'm used to going from Bellevue, you know, get on 167 or something. So I wasn't real happy about maybe getting out of the rodeo at 10 or 10:30 or something. Have to drive home with the crowd. I wasn't too sure about that, so kind of begged off on that, and she said, okay, we don't have to go. So we came home, but we had a great time. We saw lots of stuff, so anyway, I would almost go back out there again. We always liked the fair, so back to net, KD7QKU.
QKU, thanks for that. Let's go to DX Bob, G9PQ.
Okay, well, let's see, I've got a few things here. So, yeah, I gotta let you guys know, you've all been to my place, I think. I'm pretty sure you all have. And so, you know, I've got the deck out and back, and that's where my loop is. And I'm very limited in what I can do. And so it's not a mag loop. I used to own one of the same design that MFJ, they basically, I don't know if they bought it or just took it over, but the original one went out of business, and so they have basically improved on the design, and they it's quite expensive. It's about $450, but no, I did not buy one of those. I might want to one day, but not right now. So this is what this is. I've got an automatic antenna tuner from quite a long time ago that was manufactured mainly for use like on sailboats. So you'd put, you know, the ground into the water, into the salt water, and then you'd have something going up the stay line and have a nice antenna that way, and it would tune up just about anything. Well, what you can do instead is just take that ground and make one side of your loop and have the loop going, and then it'll tune up just about anything. So I have this loop that just goes around the railing of my deck, and then along the house it goes up under the gutters, which actually is, you know, terrible for transmission, but it gets me out, and this tuner does a great job tuning up anywhere from 10 to I would manage to tune up 80 even, but it does 10 to 40 very well, and I couldn't quite get 160 to tune. It is a transmit as well as receive, so yeah, it's my everything antenna. And in fact, Whisper, for those that might not know, with the interesting and kind of unusual thing about Whisper is it's one-way communication, but it's only one-way transmit. So all I do is transmit, and then all the stations that can hear me, they send something to a website, and so I can see who can hear me by looking at the website. And so it's really cool, and that's how, you know, somebody heard me in Australia, and in New Zealand, and in Japan, near Sao Paulo in Brazil, and a few other places in Central America, and then quite a few places around the U.S. So really a lot of fun to just see where I can get to. Let's see. The Elecraft, mine. So interestingly enough, these Elecrafts, they were very modular. So you had to buy the power amp as an option, which I did do. I think almost everybody did. So just even to get 100 watts out, you had to buy an option. But again, I'm sure just about everyone that bought one got that. But I've been keeping the power way down because since my antenna is just basically right at my deck, I'm worried about it playing havoc with all the cheap electronics that people tend to have, you know, all the Chinese electronics that's not shielded at all, so that signals can just mess with it. I've had a couple of things. This camera that's filming me right now, it is connected via HDMI to the rest of the video gear. When I was transmitting, this camera would turn on if that HDMI cable was connected. Even that, which is it's a JVC camera, it's a decent camera, but I also have a light. Let me break. Light in a display case, and it's got a fancy kind of a switch where you just touch the side of the display case, and it's got a little metal strip, and so it's basically a capacitive switch. You just touch it just the way you would a touch screen on a phone, but it's just very simple. You touch anywhere on this little piece of metal, and that turns on the light. That transmitting also turns that light on, and that's at 5 watts to 5 to 10 watts. I actually tune, because the tuning is sort of set to 8 watts, and I just didn't bother to change it. So I'm tuning up the ATU, the antenna tuner, on more wattage than I'm actually transmitting. But it's working well, and I'm gonna work on this. We're working on getting a better antenna or improving the antenna I have. But this is just to get me started and get out on the air, and I'm very happy about it. And very happy about Whisper. It's a cool thing, and then FT8. Actually, you make contacts with Whisper. As I say, it's just one way, but I did make a two-way contact with the guy in Alaska on the Aleutians using FT8. So onward and upward. Back to net K9PQ.
Thanks for that. Time for another ID. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society on the 08 machine. And this is Dave, KD7ZYM. Well, let's go to Richard in Kent, K7ITX.
Bob, that's pretty cool. Man, if I had the inclination and the time, man, that's kind of the route I would go, like what you're doing. Because I've got my own location issues, maybe similar to you, but also very different as well. But it sounds like you've been very successful. And yeah, Ron, a $20 hamburger? I don't think so. I was just thinking about that. I've been to the Puyallup Fair, and I love their hamburgers. Now, I don't know where you went. I usually like to go to the place that has the most fried onions on their hamburgers. That's what I like. Doesn't have to be a big giant one, but it needs to have lots of onions on it. And in fact, I'd like to walk up to the sneeze guard and look right in and see those savory things that are curling away, but 20, so I was thinking, what would I pay? I wouldn't pay 20. Would I pay 10? Yeah, probably. Would I pay 12? I might even pay 12. But for whatever reason, I don't know, there's something about $20 that just rubs me wrong. but they are really good. But I don't know. I can make a pretty good hamburger myself. And plus, wasn't it the last net when I told you guys how I had just crammed myself with a hamburger and French fries from Five Guys? That's pretty tough to beat. I mean, it's getting pretty close to the fair, actually, as far as quality goes. The French fries are incredible that they sell at Five Guys, and the burger too. So I don't know. But there's something about the atmosphere at the fair. You're not really inside, you're outside. There's just the smell of the barnyard. I don't know what it is. It's just, yeah, I know. I University Place, just outside of Tacoma. And as a kid growing up, every Monday, the first Monday following the start of school, so so it'd be this Monday would be school gets out early to go to the fair. Play school district, and usually if you're in music somehow, you might get roped into having to show up with your mom and stand on the stage and sing with some other little kids, or maybe the band. Maybe the school band might have a show at the Petrel Fair. It would be this Monday coming up for sure. Was for University Place School District. So, and then of course, you just growing up as a teenager. I don't know. They didn't call it the Tunnel of Love, but there was always a ride that was on a boat and kind of nice little scenery, real dark. And so, as a 7th or 8th grader, that was usually your first chance, to have a girl next to you. I'll never forget that. And of course, and you would never live it down. Whatever happened in the Tunnel of Love stuck with you for years and years and years. It was almost kind of very horrible in some respects, but yet on the other, very challenging, though, I'll have to admit. Oh God, and then the fun house. Oh, I could go on and on and on about the Dallas Fair. So I won't though. K7ATS back to net control.
ATX, let's see if we can wake up Wade. W7ITL in Tacoma. Wade.
My cell phone talking to somebody.
Well, let's go to Jim, N7QO.
N7QO, thank you, Dave. Well, let's see, where did we leave off here? Jim, yeah, I was going to suggest what Ron said, peanut butter. I know peanut butter works to attract mice. And it seems like someone else suggested that as well. So I have to agree with Ron, try that. But I can say this, if it's a squirrel, I have some neighbor who buys peanuts, unshelled peanuts, and sets them out, and I see squirrels occasionally carrying them around. I have peanut shells in my yard now because some squirrel brought them over here to munch on rather than eating wherever they pick the peanuts up. So if it's a squirrel, peanuts would be effective. Let's see. Fireplace. Yeah. My place in Texas was like that as well. It did not have any sort of heat-gathering manifold, and if it did, that's really the good thing. If there could be some sort of manifold surrounding the chimney where you could have a fan forcing air through there, that would be very effective at heating the place. But although my fireplace was functional, it really did not heat anything. It actually made the place cooler when I opened the damper and had a fire in there. So, oh well, it's more of a decorative thing, I guess. Well, it's interesting with some of the traps. The Department of Wildlife, somewhere, was it Pierce County? Snohomish County, somewhere north of here anyway. They had a problem with a bear several years ago, so they came up with this trap, and they baited the trap with Krispy Kreme donuts, and they caught the bear. So I don't know, maybe Krispy Kremes would be effective bait for all other mammals as well. Just a thought. But of course I'd have to eat 90% of the donut myself, so just use a little bit. And let's see, Dave. Yeah, I found YouTube to be a great asset for gathering information about all sorts of different topics. It's not always good information that you're getting, but if you watch enough of the videos, you can piece together a whole lot of really valuable information. And also, Dave, thanks for the update on the Wazoo game. I didn't quite catch the end of it. I did record it, but thanks for that. Let me reset. Thank you, Mr. Repeater. Ron, Gary Lewis was actually our club president for quite some time, for a number of years. And if I remember correctly, both of his parents were amateur radio operators. Well, it's sad to hear that his father is now a silent key. Bob, sounds like you're off to an excellent start. And yeah, your location would be rather difficult for antennae. So it sounds like you've got something that's working pretty well, at least for now anyway. Dick, onions. Yeah, I got to go along with that. I think most everything is better with onions. I will make one exception. Although I love onions, I don't care how much onions you put on liver. I cannot tolerate liver and onions. Oh well. It's like, yeah, give me the liver and onions, hold the liver, please. And hamburger, the problem there is it's not just the $19 for the hamburger. If your wife wants one, it's $38. It's like, holy cow. So that adds up quickly. I mean, that's pretty bad. And Dick, tunnel of love. Yeah, that's funny. I could say something, but I won't. Back to you, Dave, N7QO.
Thanks for that. Well, let's see. I see Wade is with us again, W7ITL.
Still on the phone.
Okay, well, let's move on down to James, WU7M.
Thank you all for the peanut butter suggestion. I might go under there and try that. I also have a couple other traps that I've needed to replace. Just the things you find when you're crawling around or walking around under your house, it looks like my heat ducts have a vent that just, or part of the heat duct just goes out into the space under the house. And they apparently had some best of intention to attach it to something, but they didn't. So it's just open, and it had a couple pieces of tape over it that had fallen off. So when my furnace is running, the heat is just like going out of this hole under my house. So you probably should look at that stuff more carefully more often. Well, let's see, one other question. Learned what this food item is. You mentioned gravy or liver and onions. Poutine. It's a dish. I didn't know what this was. Apparently there's all different variations of this, and it's associated with a country, so we'll throw that out there and see who knows about that one, because I had no idea what this was. Let's see, what else? Appreciate the explanation on Whisper. I was a little confused about that. I didn't quite understand how that worked, so I assume there's receivers all over the world that just listen for your signal and then report on the web whether they heard you or not. But I didn't understand how that's what it was doing. It is amazing with the very accurate receivers and the ever-helpful internet, you know exactly where all the beacons are, and it's been interesting. At one point I was tuning in the exact frequencies and then trying to listen for the beacon, and I understand Whisper, though, can even pull it out even when your ear can't hear it, using digital magic and forward error correction or some such. So anyway, that to me is absolutely amazing. 5 minutes left. The time just roared on by this afternoon, and it's interesting. I thought I was the only one who got cell phone calls in the middle of nets. Anyway, this is James, WW7ATS. Let me turn it back to our net control Dave. Go ahead, Dave.
7N, Botswana, the great hunter. Anyway, great hearing from you. And I would say bacon really makes a wonderful scent for animals to bait a trap with. And again, this is Dave, KD7ZYM, and this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society. And as far as the fair goes, oh my gosh, when I first came to work at Como, of course Como was Fisher Blend, or Fisher Communications television station in '67. The remote truck was a bread truck that had been converted over for outside broadcasting and radio and television. And so that year I went to the fair and I had a camera that was marked Como. Well, Como's owned by Fisher Flouring Mill, and guess what? Scones is Fisher Scones. And so as soon as they saw the logo on my camera, they loaded me up with a bushel of scones to take back to the TV station. I think I helped myself to about a dozen of them till I couldn't eat any more. Then I must have taken at least 100 of them back to the station, and they vaporized right away. But oh my! And then after that, every year I went to the fair with a camera with a logo on it. It was always free scones and a big bag to take back to the station. So that was kind of interesting. Well, anyway, that's pretty much what I've got to say. This is Dave, KD7ZYM in Lake City. So we got time to go up to Ron, KD7QKU.
KD7QKU here. Well, Richard, when we got in the parking lot at the fair and I got out of the car, I could smell the onions. I was drooling for, onion hamburger. And like I say, we always bought them at the Young Life, but the Young Life wasn't there. And they were a really good onion burger. I think even the corn dogs, Richard, were like $12 or something. It was just atrocious, the cost of food there, I'm telling you. I got rides down here, but why oh, so I was sitting on this bench. My wife wanted to go in where they sell stuff, and I'm not too excited about going in where they sell stuff. I was already tired. My butt was dragging my tracks out, so I said, I'm going to sit here and eat this chocolate ice cream cone. You can go run around in there all you want to. And so right across from me, there was these two big cranes up in the air. I mean, they were way up in the air. I'd say they were 100 feet in the air. And they had something attached to them, and they had a seat in the bottom that about 3 or 4 people could sit in. And so the people would get in there and they'd strap them down, and they would release that thing, and I swear those people shot 100 feet higher than those cranes, and then they came down, and then they went up, and then they came down, and of course they were screaming and hollering, and I wouldn't be surprised if they were puking. I don't know. It just made me, the hair stand up on the back of my neck, and I'm just sitting there looking up at them, and it wasn't going the moment I walked up there and sat down, but I sat down and heard all these god-awful screams and heard this motor running, and I looked over there, and these people were flying 200 feet in the air or whatever, about 3 or 4 of them in this seat, and I'm thinking, oh my golly, and I don't know what it cost, but there was just a steady line of people. I mean, it was suicidal to take that thing. So anyway, so that ride was just something else. And so my friend in Boise, he's pretty serious ham operator, but he likes QRP and Morse code and stuff. So back in after the first of the year or something, when everything kind of opened up due to the sunspot and everything. So he calls me and says, hey man, everything's open, 10 meters is just going crazy. So I went out and I got my little end-fed wire and tied it to the ladder on the motorhome in the shed. It was about 8 feet off the ground, and so I answered a call or made a call, I can't remember which, and I got a guy back on the Great Lakes. I can't remember his name now, but I looked him up on QRP, and the island he was on was the same as his name. He owned this island in the middle of the Great Lakes. He had his home there and had 2 or 3 towers. He was a real nice guy. I said, holy smokes, that island's named after you. And he said, yeah. He said, I was pretty successful in life. He didn't. And he had a stepper antenna on top of one of his towers, and they're $4,000 or $5,000, just the antenna. And so here I got this little wire in the backyard, and so I told him, he asked me, well, what are you running? And I said, well, I'm running this little Yaesu radio. I just got a little end-fed wire off the ground. Well, he said, you're putting in a really great signal. And he said, can you reduce your power? And I said, I sure can. He said, okay, well, let's drop down in power. Let's see how low you can go. I got down to 5 watts. I'm talking to him on 5 watts. He's in the middle of the Great Lakes someplace on this island. He said, when I was down at 10, he said, oh yeah, 10 is just about as good as 100 or 90, whatever I was putting out. And when I got down to 5, he says, still solid communication. So it doesn't take much when the conditions are good. So, all right. So, anyway, back to net, KD7QKU.
KU, thanks for that. And it's time to terminate the net. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. We'd like to thank the SeaTac Repeater Association letting us use WW7ATS repeater 147.08 for our voice transmissions. So with that, I'll be terminating the net at 9:02. This is Dave, KD7CYM, on behalf of the Western Washington Amateur Television Society. Good evening, all.
70HN disconnected.